Welcome to our BetRacingNation TV YouTube channel, and we're going to look back now at Cheltenham and look at those horses that may not have won, but certainly, I call them the eye catchers, this panel don't, but certainly horses to look out for in the next couple of months and also over the next couple of years. Horses that didn't quite get up on the line, but ones that we've watched and reviewed over and we think have got good chances going forward. Let's introduce the panel for this, our experts, Billy Blakeman.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, and Tom Sandy Castle.
Hi, Pete.
Hi. And you particularly have gone through every single race over the last week or so to find those horses. We'll start off with the Supreme Hurdle. Who caught your eye in that race?
Well, it's more like who didn't catch my eye in this race, because I know the Racing Post and a lot of Time Form, they've all put up Sergeant Reckless as a real eye catcher. And visually, I can understand why they've said that. But it's easy to get carried away with a visual performance like this. I think he was flattered. I think that the Tour, after 2 out, really kicked on for home, and that he left the leading 8 in trouble.
So you wouldn't be for that one? What about you, Billy?
No, I agree. He's the only 7-year-old in the race. He's older. He only had behind him Irving, who didn't give his running, and Gil Gambola, who clattered 2 out. He's not an eye catcher. He just stayed on through beaten horses.
That's one of mine. But
yeah.
What is your eye catcher for this?
I didn't have an actual eye catcher note.
Okay.
It was a negative towards Sergeant Reckless. I think he was definitely flattered in the race. Unace and Irvine were both well beaten. They even went past a few horses at the end as well, and I think that pretty much sums the race up.
OK, so you wouldn't be on Sergeant Reckless next time for confidence. OK, let's move on to the Bayliss and Harding affordable luxury handicap. You have, I think, found one in this that did interest you.
Yes, certainly. The horse is called Pasha du Polder of Paul Nicholls. He went off as a 50-to-1 shot in the race, and he was actually hampered at the 6th of the faller of King Massini, and he was quite badly hampered as well. You know, he lost his plate about coming towards the 11th, and he made significant ground 3 out. But the jockey, once he was beat, the jockey was quite easy on him, and he was off a mark of 148. He's officially going to be off a mark of 146 next time, and he was carrying 11 stone 9. It was his first time over 3 miles, and I think it just stretched him slightly.
Okay,
and it
so the
really,
name of that one?
Pasha du Polder, really caught my eye.
OK. Anything in the first day for you, Billy?
Yeah, I liked Cockney Sparrow in the Mares Hurdle.
I didn't think you were going to name that one.
Yeah, no, it was always a doubt as to whether she'd really want to go 2.5 miles, but she travelled really well through the race, and she jumped nicely, and she was really within herself, turning into the home straight.
So you've got to come up with a mare to look out for in the future.
AP Ride, he didn't give her sort of AP Ride when she was beaten. You know, she stayed on quite nicely. And if there's a race at Aintree for her on decent ground, maybe back over 2 miles.
Can I just give one from me on the first day? This was the Rewards for Racing listed race. It was the last race on the first day, and it's a horse called Pendra, trained by Charlie Longston. Pendra, lightly raced, mark of 140. I think it will go on to win some races. Anything else on that first day, very quickly?
Yeah, we have to talk about the new one in the Champion Hurdle. Yeah. Obviously, Archon of Falling, obviously hampered him quite badly, and obviously Sam took a bit of time to get sort of the new one back on the bridle. He was very slowly, and his jumping obviously was affected after he was jumping to the right, and you know he stayed up that hill better than any other horse. And
OK, let's move on to the second day, which is the Wednesday. Anything stand out? You got one for the Fred Winter?
Yeah, well, again, this one's quite obvious, but Cat Gary would have definitely won the race if he wasn't hampered by the fall of Clark Cam. Clark Cam stepped at the hurdle, and Cat Gary sort of had to sidestep. He probably lost about 3 lengths, but what was so key about that is the winner got first run on him because of that. I also think Cat Gary could have even won if he wouldn't have stuttered at the last, because he probably lost another 2 lengths by doing that, and he's got to go down as an unlucky loser. OK.
Anything on the Wednesday for you, Vinny?
Yeah, I quite liked Colin Tizard's Royal Vacation in the bumper. Vacation or valuation? Might be valuation.
It's Royal Vacation.
Sorry, it is Vacation. Sorry, my writing. Well, Vacation had a run in February at Ascot and was ridden very patiently out the back and made late headway. Went to Cheltenham quite soon after that run, so it came quick enough. Again, held up right out the back. Made quite a bit of ground on the run-up, only beaten 13.5 lengths. A 4-year-old as well, so Royal Vacation. He wouldn't have any form figures now, but it'd be one to watch out for.
And there's a couple, always these bumper runners. I mean, I know Dermot Weld had the winner, but I've got 2. I know you've got a couple as well. The 2 for me, I think might be one of yours, is Joshua Hill.
Joshua Lane.
Joshua Lane, I'm sorry. Edward Harty. It ran in Ascot in a listed race, come second there. I think that's got a future.
I completely agree with you. Joshua Lane obviously come 3rd in the race, only beaten about 2 lengths. If there was one horse I could take home from this race, it'd be Joshua Lane. He didn't have that initial turn of foot when they sped up coming around the home bend, but the way he stayed on, stuck his neck out, it really impressed me, and he's a horse that I'd like to keep on the right side of.
And there's another one in that race as well. I know Dermot Weld won the race, but they also had a fifth in that race called Vigil, and that might be one to watch on the flat. Dermot Weld has indicated that horse could run on the flat, so watch out for that in early part of the season. Let's move forward to the Thursday and the Potemps. You've got one in that one?
Two in that one, actually.
Two, okay.
Two, yeah. They were the sixth, and they finished 6th and 7th, and that was On the Bridge of Jeremy Scott and Mr. Dillon of Nicky Henderson. On the Bridge was held up in last, made a mistake at the 7th, was actually in last place coming, and then made another mistake at the 9th. Quite scrappy jumping, to be honest with you. And he was switched right and left coming up the home straight. He was passing horses very, very quickly. I would say he's a 9-year-old. Whether he's got much improvement in him, he's off his highest mark of 140. The handicappers left him on that, but visually he was finishing very quickly as well. Mr. Dillon, who finished 7th, was hampered at the first of the faller of Vic's Canvas. Barry Geraghty sort of got caught behind a wall of horses about 3 out, and he was trying to find a gap and he couldn't really find it, and he stayed on quite well. And they were the two that I would say that the most eye-catching from the Pertemps.
Okay. Anything Thursday for you, Billy?
Yeah, I like to look at Broadway Buffalo in the Pertemps. He ran to about 150 over novice hurdles for David Pipe, and he's a real staying type. It's his second run over 3 miles. Didn't look the speediest, but he made good ground late on. And I'm probably not the first to say it, but he's a chasing type, and he'd be a really nice novice chaser next year.
He finished 8th, so 6th, 7th and 8th we've gone for the Pertemps.
So the Potemps, you think there's 3 horses there for potential to watch out for the future. OK, let's move on to the Friday, and before I go to the guys on their selections, I know you got one for the Triumph. I've got one for the Triumph as well. And it's actually the winner. A lot of these other ones finished behind, but I think that Tiger Roll, who's actually a Darley cast-off, if my memory strikes me right, was originally trained by Nigel Hawke of a rating of 95, and he's likely to run in the champion 4-year-old hurdle race at Punchestown at the end of April. So watch out for Tiger Roll. I think that will carry on winning. I know it's only had 3 runs as well, so it's a plenty more improvement, but you've got a couple others. Yeah,
sorry, just quickly rewind. We never spoke about the Ryanair Chase.
Ryanair Chase.
Myself and Billy are on the agreement of Ranjani Express.
Right.
Nicky Henderson, ridden by Sam Wadey-Cohen. He was actually the youngest horse in the field, only being a 7-year-old, and he actually ran an absolute cracker. I actually thought, after jumping 3 out, that he was actually the likely winner. But Dynas obviously stayed on very strongly. He was slightly hampered after the last by Hidden Cyclone as well, and I think maybe his lack of experience, I know that sounds silly because he's obviously ran in the Paddy Power, but maybe his lack of experience in another top race like this sort of might have been his downfall in the end. He needs good ground, it's essential to him. The handicapper has now given a mark of 158, so he's gone up £3, and he's, for me, Ranjani Express on a flatter track, maybe somewhere like Newbury, even maybe, well, he'd be off a high rate in the Hennessy next year, but of interest for me is Ranjani Express.
OK, and you're...
I agree. I mean, thanks to Sandy for making me have another look at the horse. But yeah, I mean, he's one of those horses that was a good handicapper, and he was a big price because he was considered to be a good handicapper, but he's clearly better than that, and
OK,
we'll go on.
Well, we move back to just to let you know, as we move forward to Friday, Tiger Roll was the one for me, as I said. For you, Sandy, on the Friday?
I think you can't forget the run of Calypto of Paul Nicholls and Darryl Jacob. Obviously, he was hampered at the second by the faller, and I think that's initially where his tack must have actually slipped. I think Darryl Jacob has realised this, and he's kept him together the whole race. He was absolutely cruising when he's, I think it was the stirrup broke, the lever broke, didn't it? And you know, he rode without any irons over the last 2, and I think he would have been the winner of the race if it wasn't for that. He was going just as well as the winner, and I think he would have won.
OK. Anything for you in that race, Billy?
I just mentioned your Triumph Hurdle horse. I mean, that is a bit of a graveyard for horses, you know, running well in that. It can take a lot out of a horse, but I quite like.
I just like the improvement from Market Raisin Run. That was what interested me, and I thought he reversed the form with Guitar Pete, and I think there's a little bit more improvement there.
Yeah, quite possibly. I backed Livius in the County Hurdle. For a moment I thought I was going to get a place. He came very wide in the straight and faded to finish 8th. Not the least exposed horse with Nicky Henderson, but he's potentially on a good mark. He's been chasing before, and I think he'll be sent back over fences. I think Livius could win a novice chase.
So that's Livius. You've got one of the Vincent O'Brien, Sam?
Yeah, I have. Manila for You was ridden by McCoy. McCoy was visually in pain with some of his rides, and you could see it by the end of the week he was starting to struggle, and I don't think he gave Miller for You the best of rides for McCoy. He got sort of trapped on the inside, and so all the horses that were finishing all come wide, and he was on the wrong side of the track, and I just think he would have been a bit wider. I think McCoy just got him trapped on that inside rail, and they almost made their run before he got involved, and it all stayed on too late. He finished 6th, but I think for Miller for You, he's only a 5-year-old. Mark of 100, 139. I think the handicapper will probably keep him on the same mark. He could be interesting back in Ireland.
Okay. Anything in that race or on the Friday for you?
Livius was in the county hurdle. I think that was a Friday. But no.
Okay. Sandy,
We've got
Grand Annual.
The last horse, and this was the most painful one of the week for me, and I could have cried by the end of it, and that's Claret Cloak. I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind this horse would have won if it wasn't for absolutely clattering the second last.
Yeah, I agree.
Noel Feely, the horse dipped his head, he had to sort of gather him back up, and he just, unfortunately, as soon as he'd done that, Cervello got in front of him, and he just couldn't quite peg him back, and he weakened towards the finish, but I'm absolutely gutted about it.
And it was a change in tactics, wasn't it?
It was, and Emma Lavelle was on the show. She was the one that told us, I've been riding this horse wrong. He doesn't need to go from the front. He's a 2-mile horse and needs to be held up on good ground for that turn of foot at the end of his races. And he would have won the Grand Annual. Yeah. And anyone that says otherwise, he definitely...
I backed it as well. It's okay to cry.
Absolutely. So, looking back on Cheltenham, and obviously we've given our horses to look forward to, which is the standout dish? If there was one horse tomorrow that was running out of the ones you've selected, Sandy, have a think about it. Billy, what about you?
I think Royal Vocation, I didn't mention the bumper horse. He's a half-brother to Are You Know Yourself, who's rated, he's run to 148, and a half-brother to Delphi Mountain, who runs to 132, so he would be one. But I think Cockney Sparrow is going to win something at Aintree.
So out of everything there, you're going for a mare, Cockney Sparrow. Yeah. Sandy?
I'll probably pick out for next year at Cheltenham Joshua Tree, whatever race he goes for.
Yeah.
I just like the attitude of the horse. He just, for me, just looked, he really wanted it when he went up that hill, and you can't ask for anything more than that.
Okay. In relation to Cheltenham, how did you do?
I won a small sum over the 4 days.
Right.
3 figures.
Peter's laughing at me here because you know exactly how I did. With King's Palace blowing out, Claret Cloak hitting the second last.
But with Cheltenham, it's like anything. It's a very difficult to make money at Cheltenham. And as you've seen in the past, a lot of horses that do well there tend to come back year after year after year. And quickly, let's sort of wrap up. The feature races, the Champion Hurdle was a disappointment, and obviously we had the Alconnor incident, which is dreadful.
Took the shine off it, wouldn't it? I mean, it was aside from that, it was a good finish.
I don't think Jessica Harrington sees it like that. She's obviously delighted.
And what do we think about the Gold Cup winner, Lord Windermere?
I just couldn't believe
it's
that
the lowest
race.
rated.
Strange race.
It was a very strange race, and I've watched it back about 5 or 6 times now, and I still can't get to grips with how it changed so quickly. But it looked clear to me that the wider you were coming up that straight, the better the ground it almost looked like that, didn't it?
It did look like that. I mean, Bobsworth, illustrated just how hard it is and how much that race takes out of a horse. To come back and win it consecutive years is difficult. Bobsworth is very short on the day, but it's a funny race. It's the pinnacle.
Sorry, who did you think in running was going to win? Did you actually think that Silvino Conte was going to win?
I did.
I did come into the last.
Definitely.
And a very good point on the World Hurdle. Everyone's saying that Annie Power didn't stay. The horse, in my opinion, did stay.
Yeah, she ran a great race, superb race.
Will she be back for the World Hurdle next year?
I don't think so.
Champion Hurdle? Might even go for the Mayor's Hurdle, but Crevega obviously was the star of the show as well. That's about it. We've done a wrap-up of Cheltenham here. Hopefully we've given you some pointers on a number of winners over the next months and years to come. Watch out for our YouTube channel on BetRacingNation TV, because over the next week or so we're going to have some Grand National features as well.